In the early hours of the Russian invasion, a group of 40 Ukrainian soldiers stationed near Kharkiv found themselves in an unprecedented situation. With reports of a 400-strong Russian battalion approaching, these soldiers, primarily from the 92nd Mechanized Brigade, braced for a seemingly impossible confrontation. In the shadow of the looming conflict, the 40 Ukrainian soldiers of the 92nd Mechanized Brigade realized that traditional warfare strategies would not suffice against a Russian battalion 10 times their size. Their decision to engage in guerrilla warfare, a form of irregular warfare that employs small mobile groups using surprise attacks, was not just a strategic choice but a necessity born out of the desperate asymmetry of power. The outskirts of Kharkiv, a mosaic of urban and semi-urban landscapes, provided an ideal setting for their unconventional tactics. These soldiers, many of whom had grown up in and around these areas, possessed an intimate understanding of this terrain. Their familiarity with every alley, building, and potential hiding spot in this urban labyrinth was a critical advantage. To capitalize on this situation, the Ukrainian soldiers systematically established a network of ambush points. They incorporated anti-personnel mines and tripwire grenades for area control. Each ambush location was carefully chosen for its strategic importance in guerrilla warfare. This included considering aspects like visibility, escape routes, and the potential effect on the approaching battalion. For snipers, buildings offering high vantage points were selected. These snipers were armed with high-caliber Dragunov rifles. Additionally, narrow streets and critical choke points were reinforced with RPG-7 anti-tank launchers and improvised explosive devices, also known as IEDs. The essence of their strategy was to strike with ferocity and vanish into the shadows, a classic hallmark of guerrilla warfare. In one harrowing ambush, they decimated an armored vehicle with anti-tank guided missiles, leaving a smoldering wreckage in their wake. This tactic not only inflicted severe physical damage, but also sowed seeds of terror within the Russian ranks, making them second-guess every step in what was previously familiar territory. This unexpected defense transformed the city's outskirts into a perilous maze for the Russian battalion. Each ambush, executed with precision, was a devastating psychological blow. The Ukrainians utilized portable Javelin anti-tank missiles, exploiting their fire-and-forget capability to hit targets and then rapidly relocate. The Russians, reeling from the relentless strikes, struggled to adapt to the guerrilla tactics that challenged their conventional warfare doctrine. As night fell, the air was pierced by the echoes of gunfire and the distant thunder of artillery. The Ukrainian soldiers, shrouded in darkness, became specters haunting the Russian forces. Their movements were swift and silent, their attacks sudden and lethal. The night sky was intermittently lit by the fiery explosions of Russian tanks, turning the battlefield into a nightmarish panorama of destruction. In a daring display of tactical brilliance, the Ukrainians executed a maneuver known as envelopment. Small teams covertly circled behind enemy lines, cutting off their retreat and supply routes. This maneuver, a classic pincer movement, left the Russian battalion isolated and disoriented, effectively turning the hunters into the hunted. It was a bold gamble, relying on stealth, speed, and an intimate knowledge of the terrain. February 25th marked a pivotal moment in this David versus Goliath confrontation near Tsirkany, a village that would soon etch its name in the annals of Ukrainian resistance. The day began with an eerie silence, a calm before the storm that was about to unfold. The Ukrainian soldiers, entrenched in their covert positions, waited with bated breath as the Russian battalion began its advance into the northern suburbs. The ambush was triggered with surgical precision. As the first Russian armored vehicles rolled into their predetermined kill zone, they were greeted with a sudden and ferocious barrage of anti-tank fire. The Ukrainian soldiers had strategically positioned themselves to exploit the weaknesses of these armored giants. RPG-7s, a staple in guerrilla warfare due to their portability and effectiveness, were primarily used. Each shot was calculated, aiming to immobilize the vehicles and create bottlenecks, trapping the advancing forces in a deadly choke point. Simultaneously, Ukrainian snipers perched in high-rise buildings began their deadly dance. These snipers, adept at urban warfare, used the chaos below to mask their positions. They targeted key personnel, officers, radiomen, and other high-value targets, with the goal of sowing confusion and disrupting command and control within the Russian ranks. On the ground, small teams of Ukrainian soldiers moved with agility, darting between buildings and the dense underbrush that skirted the village's outskirts. Their movement was a choreographed symphony of warfare, a testament to their rigorous training and deep understanding of urban guerrilla tactics. These movements allowed them to reposition quickly, avoiding enemy counterfire and creating an illusion of a much larger force. This first major ambush was more than just a tactical victory. It was a stark demonstration of how a well-coordinated, smaller force could leverage the element of surprise and intimate terrain knowledge to significant effect. The damage inflicted on the Russian armored vehicles was not just physical. It struck a blow to the morale of the invading forces, who had not anticipated such fierce resistance. The night of the long fires marked a bold and strategic operation by the Ukrainian soldiers. Under the veil of darkness, they executed a daring plan to infiltrate and disrupt the Russian forces. Small teams, moving with stealth and precision, had meticulously planned their routes, avoiding detection. Their mission was clear: plant explosives and sever the Russian supply lines, striking at the heart of the enemy's operational capabilities. The execution of this operation required not just courage, but also meticulous planning. The soldiers utilized their knowledge of the terrain to navigate undetected, reaching critical points where their actions would have the maximum impact. The explosives, placed strategically, were aimed at causing maximum disruption to the Russian logistics and communication networks. When the explosives detonated, the impact was immediate and significant. The Russian camp was thrown into disarray, with supply chains disrupted and communication lines compromised. In the chaos, Russian troops scrambled to secure their perimeter and establish new communication channels. This operation not only caused physical damage, but also struck a psychological blow, demoralizing the Russian troops and hampering their advance. In the ensuing days, the small contingent of Ukrainian soldiers displayed remarkable resilience, successfully holding their line against the Russian forces. Despite being heavily outnumbered, they effectively repelled each attempt to penetrate their defenses. Their success hinged on a deep understanding of the local geography, allowing them to anticipate and counter the enemy's movements. The Ukrainians' tactics were unorthodox yet effective. They frequently repositioned, exploiting the urban terrain to create new defensive setups, which continually baffled the larger Russian force. This agility not only helped in maintaining their defensive posture, but also inflicted weariness and confusion among the Russian troops. Their steadfast defense became a symbol of resistance, showcasing how strategic ingenuity and intimate terrain knowledge can level the playing field in asymmetrical warfare. This period of holding the line was critical in thwarting the Russian advance, demonstrating the Ukrainian soldiers' determination and tactical acumen. The persistent efforts of the Ukrainian soldiers reached a critical juncture, marking a turning point in the conflict. Their relentless harassment, combined with a series of strategic hits on the Russian supply lines, gradually wore down the Russian battalion. The cumulative effect of these targeted strikes, coupled with the rising toll of casualties and equipment losses, began to erode the Russian forces' operational capacity and morale. Faced with these mounting challenges, the Russian command found itself at a strategic crossroads. The unexpected tenacity of the Ukrainian defense, coupled with their tactical ingenuity, had not been anticipated. Reports of dwindling supplies and demoralized troops forced the Russian military leadership to reassess their approach. This reassessment, informed by the unexpected resilience of their opponent, led to a significant decision: to pull back some of their forces from the front lines. This withdrawal marked a notable shift in the dynamics of the conflict. It alleviated some of the pressure on Kharkiv, providing a much-needed respite to the Ukrainian defenders. This move by the Russian command underscored the impact of the Ukrainian soldiers' actions. Their ability to hold their ground under such overwhelming odds had effectively shifted the course of the battle, demonstrating the power of resilience and strategic thinking in warfare. The efforts of these 40 Ukrainian soldiers played a crucial role in the broader Battle of Kharkiv. Their ability to stymie a force 10 times their size became a symbol of Ukrainian resistance. Post-battle analyses praised their strategic ingenuity and unyielding courage.